In the final days of his life, a warrior sat alone in a cave. No army, no students, no audience, only silence, and a brush. His name was Miyamoto Musashi, and what he wrote in those final days was not a battle strategy. It was not a poem. It was not an apology. It was 21 rules, 21 cold, disciplined instructions for walking alone. He called it Dokkōdō, the way of walking alone. And almost no one today is prepared for what it demands. Because Dokkōdō is not inspirational, it is not comforting, it does not promise success. It demands something far more dangerous: self-reliance without illusion, emotional restraint without applause, discipline without recognition. And in a world addicted to validation, noise, and constant connection, that kind of strength feels almost inhuman. But perhaps that is why you are here. Because somewhere inside you there is a quiet suspicion that the modern world is weakening you, not physically, but internally. You feel it in the need to respond, the need to explain, the need to defend, the need to be understood. And Dokkōdō begins by cutting through all of it, not gently, decisively. Let us walk through these 21 rules, not as history, but as a mirror. And as we do, ask yourself, are you strong enough to walk alone? Rule 1. Accept everything just the way it is. This is not passive surrender. It is not indifference. It is the refusal to waste energy arguing with reality. Most people do not suffer because of events. They suffer because they resist what has already happened. They replay conversations. They resent outcomes. They fantasize about alternate timelines. But Musashi understood something brutal. Reality does not negotiate. If you fight what already is, you lose twice. Acceptance is not weakness. It is strategic clarity. When you accept fully, your mind becomes still, and only a still mind can act precisely. Ask yourself, how much of your exhaustion comes from arguing with what has already occurred? Rule 2. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Modern culture is engineered around stimulation, food engineered for addiction, entertainment engineered for escape, validation engineered for dopamine. But pleasure without discipline corrodes the will. When you chase comfort, you weaken resilience. Musashi did not forbid enjoyment, he forbade dependence. If your peace depends on pleasure, you are fragile. True strength is the ability to remain steady even when nothing is entertaining you, even when there is no applause, even when there is no distraction. Can you sit in a silent room without reaching for something to escape it? Rule 3. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. This rule is surgical. Most people live by mood. They act when motivated, they quit when tired, they speak when emotional. But partial feelings are incomplete information. Anger feels powerful, but it is narrow. Excitement feels urgent, but it is unstable. To depend on feeling is to surrender leadership of your life to chemical fluctuations. Musashi demands something harsher. Act from principle, not mood. If your discipline disappears when you feel low, it was never discipline. It was convenience. Rule 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. This is not self-hatred. It is ego reduction. The ego wants importance, recognition, validation. But ego is noise. When you think lightly of yourself, you are harder to offend, harder to provoke, harder to manipulate. When someone insults you, what exactly are they attacking? An image, an identity you defend. But if the self is light, the attack finds nothing solid to strike. The strongest people are often the least concerned with being seen. They are concerned with being effective. Pause, silence. Rule 5. Be detached from desire your whole life long. Desire is not evil, attachment is. When your emotional stability depends on an outcome, you become desperate. And desperation makes you predictable. Predictable people are easy to control. If you must have the promotion, you can be manipulated. If you must have the relationship, you can be bent. If you must win the argument, you can be provoked. Detachment is not apathy. It is power. You can pursue without clinging, strive without collapsing, care without being consumed. Can you want something deeply without becoming enslaved to it? Rule 6. Do not regret what you have done. Regret is attachment to the past. Reflection is useful. Self-torment is not. Every decision you made was made with the awareness you had at the time. To constantly replay it is to anchor yourself to a version of you that no longer exists. Musashi wrote this near death. Imagine the weight of his life, duel after duel, blood, loss, isolation, and yet no regret. Because regret drains forward movement. Learn, adjust, advance. But do not kneel before the past. Rule 7. Never be jealous. Jealousy is comparison. Comparison is insecurity disguised as evaluation. When you envy another, you declare that their path should have been yours. But your path is forged differently. Jealousy fractures focus. Energy that could build your discipline is spent monitoring someone else's success. Walk your own road, even if it is solitary, especially if it is solitary. Rule 8. Never let yourself be saddened by a separation. Loss is inevitable. People leave, roles change, seasons shift. If your identity fuses with what can disappear, you will collapse when it does. Love deeply. But do not dissolve into dependency. Strength means you can endure absence without losing yourself. Who would you be if everything familiar were removed? Rule 9. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself nor others. Complaining feels productive. It feels like action, but it changes nothing. Resentment poisons silently. It keeps conflict alive long after the event has ended. A disciplined mind does not waste time rehearsing grievances. It adapts. It recalibrates. It moves. Silence. Rule 10. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. This is not a rejection of love. It is a warning about impulsive attachment. Strong emotion can override clarity. You promise what you cannot sustain. You commit beyond your values. You lose structure. Emotion must be acknowledged, but never allowed to command. The warrior leads his heart. He is not dragged by it. Rule 11. In all things have no preferences. Preferences create rigidity. Rigidity creates fragility. If you must have things a certain way, you become destabilized when they shift. Flexibility is resilience. Resilience is power. The less you require, the less you can be disturbed. Rule 12. Be indifferent to where you live. Most people anchor identity to environment, status, location, aesthetic. But if your strength depends on surroundings, you are conditional. Musashi lived in villages, fields, caves, isolation. Your mind should remain steady, whether in comfort or discomfort. Rule 13. Do not pursue the taste of good food. Pleasure discipline again. If comfort becomes necessity, you soften. Moderation sharpens awareness. Excess dulls it. Rule 14. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. Clutter is attachment in physical form. Objects become memory anchors, symbols of who you were, but growth requires shedding. Travel light, mentally, emotionally, physically. Rule 15. Do not act following customary beliefs. Most people inherit values unconsciously. They follow norms without questioning origin. Musashi walked alone, which means he rejected automatic conformity. Question everything, even yourself, especially yourself. Rule 16. Do not collect weapons or practice with weapons beyond what is useful. In modern terms, do not accumulate tools you do not master. Do not over-prepare as an excuse for inaction. Simplicity sharpens effectiveness. Rule 17. Do not fear death. This is perhaps the foundation of all the others. Fear of death creates fear of loss. Fear of loss creates attachment. Attachment creates weakness. When you accept mortality, you stop clinging. You become decisive. You stop living cautiously. You start living deliberately. Rule 18. Do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs for your old age. Security obsession is subtle fear. Plan wisely, but do not build your entire life around avoiding uncertainty. Control is limited. Acceptance is infinite. Rule 19. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Responsibility. Do not outsource your discipline to fate. Pray if you wish, but act. The universe does not replace effort. Rule 20. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Honor here means integrity, your internal code. When no one is watching, who are you? When applause disappears, who remains? Preserve that. Even if it costs comfort, even if it costs popularity, even if it costs companionship. Rule 21. Never stray from the way. This final rule compresses the others. Choose a path, commit, walk it fully, not halfway, not when convenient, not when validated, but consistently, even if you walk alone, especially if you walk alone. Silence. Dokkōdō was written in a cave called Reigando, no audience, no performance, just a dying warrior distilling his life into principles. And here we are, centuries later, in a world louder than ever, connected, stimulated, distracted, and yet, more internally fragile than ever. The question is not whether Dokkōdō is extreme, it is. The question is, are you willing to strengthen yourself beyond comfort, to detach without becoming cold, to act without seeking applause, to endure without complaint, to discipline emotion without suppressing humanity? Walking alone does not mean rejecting people. It means your stability does not depend on them. It means your peace is self-contained. It means your direction is chosen, not borrowed. So tonight, sit in silence for a few minutes. No phone, no distraction, no performance. And ask yourself, if everything external were stripped away, would you still stand steady? Or have you built your strength on noise? What in your life are you still clinging to that Dokkōdō would demand you release? Silence. End